You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, isn't it?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Tuesday, October 7th. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Actual rain came from the sky last night, and it feels like fall outside a little bit, which is kind of refreshing considering it is October 7th. So hopefully everyone's having a great Tuesday. A lot of great stuff to get to. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you for that. We appreciate that. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you have, thank you very much. Tell a friend or two or a million about what we're doing each and every day around 10 a.m. Each weekday at 10 a.m. Also, we're live on X. X has been very, very good to us. So if you're watching the show on X, we appreciate you doing that as well. We're up on all the podcasting forums as well. So any platform, Apple, Spotify, iHeart, Podbean, you name it. If you put it Off the Air with Matt Randazzo, you'll get the show and you can listen along, which is a ton of fun. Also, we want to thank our viewers from Central Iowa for watching. The feedback's been fantastic. We appreciate you guys as well. It's a big week next week for those viewers and the viewers here in the Quad Cities, but we're going to take the show on the road a lot coming up. This Friday we'll be on the road for high school football, but next Tuesday we'll be live at Carver Hawkeye Arena. So 1 week from today, we'll be at Carver Hawkeye for the Iowa Women's Media Day, the Iowa Women's Basketball Team's Media Day, around a 9 o'clock start, somewhere around there. So should be a ton of fun. If you remember football season, we did the show live from Iowa Football Media Day, had a bunch of fun, guests, interviews, all that kind of stuff, expecting to do the same next week as well. So Tuesday morning, we'll be live at Carver Hawkeye for the women. Next Wednesday morning, we'll be live at Carver Hawkeye for the men as well. That's actually in the afternoon, like noonish, something like that. We'll get all the times situated for you guys. So a big week next week. We'll have a bunch of fun with that. Excited about that. Thank you to the university for allowing me to take this little show to Carver Hawkeye. It should be a lot of fun. Also coming up tomorrow on the show at 10 o'clock, right off the top, Iowa women's basketball assistant coach Lysandra Barrett will join us live on the show as well. So a lot of good things to get to, especially if you're in central Iowa, but the Quad Cities, anywhere you're watching the show. A lot of fun things to get to, including today. A lot of great stuff to get to. Coming up in a matter of moments, we have Jake Brend for the second straight Tuesday. The people want Jake Brend early in the week, and I understand it. So Jake coming up to talk about Iowa State. They had their first loss of the season, how they'll bounce back against Colorado. We'll also talk Cubs because we're both yawning, probably staying up watching the Cubs disappoint us last night. So we'll talk about that in a second. Also, Tom Kakert coming up later in hour number 1. He's headed to Big Ten Media Days for basketball on Wednesday and Thursday. So we'll kind of talk to him about little hoops. And then everybody wants to know what the quarterback's going to look like for the Hawkeyes, or who it's going to be. So we'll get an update on his thoughts on that coming up a little bit later on in hour number 1. In hour 2, we hit the high school volleyball courts, Assumption. Fantastic season so far, ranked number 2, perfect in the MAC. We'll have their head coach, Greg Cotton, join us later in the show. And then also we'll talk more Cubs with our good friend Larry Hawley coming up in hour number 2 as well. So a ton to get to on today's show. We mentioned Off the Air on the road, Riverdale this week on Friday, next week United Township. So excited about that. And then the Hawkeye Tailgate Show coming up from the Hawkeye Radio Network this Saturday from 4 to 5 o'clock, Big Grove Brewery in Iowa City. And if all the things weren't enough, how about Jan Jensen at Big Grove Brewery on the Hawkeye Tailgate Show. That's this Saturday, 4 o'clock. Swing by Big Grove Brewery, meet the head coach, and listen to a little Hawk talk as well before we get moving into the football game and the pregame and all that kind of stuff as well. So ton to get to this week. It's a fun, busy week. And I usually like to talk to Jake on Wednesdays, but he's busy this Wednesday. And I really also, Jake, I just had to talk to you about the Cubs because
No thanks.
I pass.
Pass.
I pass. No, thank you. I want to get to the Cubs, but first and foremost, Jake Brend joining us from the Cyclone Fanatic in Iowa everywhere, and also the greatest sportscaster in the history of Iowa and the world. Is that safe to say?
You could maybe call me the greatest sportscaster in the state of Iowa that was born in 2001.
Okay.
I'll accept that.
All right. We'll
I
work
might be
on
the
that.
only one.
We'll work on that and build up to it, but you do great work with the Cyclone Fanatic and Iowa everywhere as well. So, and for us too, why you do it, I still don't understand. I still owe you and all that kind of stuff as well. But let's talk Cubs for a second. Another 3-run bomb, another homer okay, I get Saturday solo shot. That's a nice start. You get a 3-run homer and then you give it right back in the first inning once again. Come on.
I was so over this series. Once I saw the decision to start Matt Boyd on Saturday, Shota on Monday, just to do it on 3 days rest when it wasn't necessary, it didn't make any sense to me. I was so confused. So once last night rolled around and say I hit the bomb, I was all in. And then when Shota gave up the bomb in the first inning, I was just more mad than I normally get watching my favorite team. So it's never over till it's over. Got 2 chances at Wrigley to extend it, so I hope they can do it. But I just kind of thought it was coaching malpractice after I thought Counsell had a really good series against San Diego.
Yeah, no, and obviously I think there's more good with bad, obviously, than bad when it comes to Craig Counsell. That's something we'll look back on. We'll also look back at the trade deadline, I still think, and you can't predict Cade Horton going down, but still, this series, the pitching's just not there. I said yesterday on the show, Shota's going to give up a mistake or two. You just hope they're solo shots. But you can't go into game 2 of a series with a guy and say, he's going to give up homer. And it's not even just the homers he's giving up, Jake. It's the contact. Even the flyouts are hit well. He's given up 10 homers in his last 23 innings. I'm not a mathematician. I'm no genius, but it just, so yeah, it's funny. My kids are all Cub fans. I'm a Cub fan. And one of them said to me, why aren't you that mad this morning, Dad? And I'm like, this is kind of what I expected. And I hate to say that, but when the trade deadline came and went and nothing happened, and then the pitching, you got injured later on the year, and the way they played down the stretch a little bit, this is kind of what I expected. So I'm a little disappointed, but I hate being the guy that says just win one. But Jake, that's what it's about. You just got to take this one thing at a time and win one on Wednesday.
Yeah, and if there's a guy you trust right now, it's Jamison Tyone. So you can hope J-Mo goes and gets you 6 innings of solid baseball, and then you throw it to a bullpen that hasn't really been used this series. So Kittredge should be fresh. Keller should be fresh. Pomerantz looked good last night. So see if J-Mo can hold him to 1 or 0 runs, and see if you can put up a couple and at least put the pressure on them. Make the Brewers have to stress for Game 4, and if you win Game 4, then anything can happen. We'll see.
Last Cub note, did you go on X and kind of give your thank you to the team?
I did.
Season's over kind of thing. I thought I saw that.
Yeah, it was in the 5th inning. I think once the team went down 5-3, I think, is when I'm like, yeah, 7-3. Yeah, once the team went down 7-3, I've seen enough of this team this year. They're not coming back from that. They're not coming back from 3 down, and that's again where most of this was being the pre-mad, where I was just thinking, okay, what if Colin Ray goes out Saturday and you lose? Because you're probably going to lose Game 1 no matter what. And then you've got Matt Boyd on normal rest on Monday, which would have been better than Shota last night. And then you've got Shota with the wind probably blowing in. That's why I was so mad, where I'm like, this was mismanaged from the start, never had a shot. But yeah, it was a fun time watching the Cubs this year. Hopefully I can do it more than 3 times.
But what you said made sense to me. It was the kind of the way I felt. It was well, this is kind of what I expected. This is what it is. Next year, things are set up. The thing that makes me mad is you hate looking at next year because like I know, nothing's guaranteed. And it can look great on paper, and then stuff happens, and then next thing you know, you're watching the Cardinals do something stupid or the Brewers continue to be really good. I will say this before we move on to the Cyclones. Give the Brewers credit. Because didn't during the season. I know, I get it. Shame on you.
You're right though.
No,
you're right.
Like they're good. Like, it stinks to say, but they're good. And like the division got away, and everybody was like, "What happened?" Well, they're good. And then these first 2 games, they were not close, and they're good. So you got to give them a little credit, and then we'll move on. So it's been a bad go. It's been a bad go for you, my friend. Cincinnati gets the best of Iowa State. I guess what's the headline for you on Saturday in Cincinnati?
Just a team that surprisingly wasn't ready to go, really, in all facets. I thought they were obviously outplayed. That happens when you lose a game like that. But I thought they were outcoached, outprepared. I've been on my podcast on Iowa Everywhere, Bigger Than 12. I've been extremely vocally anti-Scott Satterfield, the Cincinnati football coach. And he proved me wrong on Saturday. He had a really impressive game plan to kind of counter Iowa State's punches before the game even started. As most know, Iowa State lost star cornerbacks Jontez Williams, Jeremiah Cooper. What Iowa State did to respond to that was they pulled their safeties back in pass coverage, which is typically not how Iowa State's defense works, in anticipation of Cincy attacking the new corners. What'd they do? No, they ran it right down their throats, and they saw an opportunity with the safeties back, and I got to give credit to them. And that, I think, to me, was the difference, because this game, even before you could blink, it was 17-0. And from that point on, you've got to play a perfect football game to win. And Iowa State, I thought, played pretty well in the second half, all things considered, to get back in the game, but they played far from perfect, and that makes the rest of the season have a very, very small margin for error.
Jake, you look at it too, and I didn't get to watch the game live. I was watching my kids play football. It was a weird Saturday where I didn't have anything to do, and so I did watch it later. But I first sat down when I'm kind of checking it on the sidelines and stuff. I'm like, where's this going wrong? Because I look, and Rocco Beck's got 3+ passing and a couple touchdowns, and the running game wasn't bad, but he stretched the imagination, and then defensively it's not like. And then I went and looked at the rush defense, and you kind of explained it a little bit, but I mean, Cincinnati had a great afternoon on the ground. That kind of surprised me, and you kind of explained it a little bit. But is that where this thing kind of was won and lost? Was the lack of rush defense for Iowa State and the way they kind of played it?
I think so. That's the biggest thing. There's other things you can point out, but when your defense gives up 31 points in the first half, that's going to be really, really hard to come back from. And they cleaned it up in the second half. They switched back to their base defense, which I guess if I have some sense of optimism going forward, I thought the cornerbacks looked pretty good for not having a ton of experience. So just play straight up and see what happens. And I think if defensive coordinator John Haycock was given a do-over, that's what he'd do. He would just play this game straight up and see what happens, because what they did obviously didn't work, and you got some bad performances in your front seven that allowed Cincinnati to just take the punch to you, and I think they won the game in the first quarter that way.
Jake, you look at it and you mentioned maybe being outcoached, and you don't expect that. And Matt Campbell's one of the best in the country. I doing my picks and everything last week, I went Iowa State because I'm like, this feels like that team that just finds ways to win, and that coaching staff and that coach will figure it out. Did that surprise you? And I'll tell you this: if I'm a Cyclone fan, I feel really pretty good about this week, because I don't think you're going to get outcoached twice. And I'm not saying outcoached, but just there was things that I was surprised by when it came to Iowa State this past weekend.
Yeah, I 100% was surprised by it, because the reason Iowa State has been so good in close games, I think, always gets put on Rocco Becht for being so clutch. But I think a lot of that credit also has to go to Matt Campbell and the coaching staff, because they have been so good in those close games. And Campbell is one of the best in the country at managing the clock. We saw it at Kinnick Stadium last year. They don't win that game if Campbell doesn't manage his timeouts, the 2-minute warning, the way he did. They had 2 other games last year where they won because of the way he used timeouts. And he didn't use timeouts well on Saturday. There was a couple weird things that happened, an injury timeout that took away one, but it was a lot of weird stuff that I don't see often from Campbell. And that's I guess why I was surprised. And some of that you just got to give credit to Cincinnati for being ready to go. It was the highest ranked opponent they've played at Nippert Stadium in 9 years. Not one against highest opponent they've played.
Wow.
So they were ready to go. The place was on fire, and I don't know if Iowa State was necessarily ready for the type of crowd, for the type of intensity they were going to get from the Bearcats.
What was that locker room like afterwards? Because I've been in a lot of locker rooms after games, and there's sometimes, and maybe I'm overthinking things, and I've not argued, but discussed with people like, right after the game kind of stuff. But sometimes they're mad, and sometimes they're pissed off, and sometimes they're deflated. Like, I have a feeling Iowa State's kind of mad. What was it like in the locker room, and is it too easy? And then that's obviously adjusted through the week. I get all of that kind of stuff, but I feel like you're going to see a really ticked off Iowa State team the weekend. What was it like in that locker room after the game?
Yeah, so I didn't get to go in the locker room, but the post-game press conference, gotcha. we got 3 players, and 2 of them were captains, Rocco Becht, Caleb Bacon. And I think the general sentiment was, it was all coming from Rocco, and it was, we did not have it today, but I think the fight that we showed to get back in the game shows what this team is capable of. And I agree with that. There's a lot of teams that you get down 31-7, it's 90 degrees out, you're in a hostile environment. There's a lot of teams that probably do roll over and die, and especially if your quarterback takes a hit that looked like he was going to be done for the game and he comes back in 2 minutes later. I think that it's cliche, but it does show some sort of fight. And that was, I guess, the main message that I got. And of course, sometimes the message that we get in the media is a little bit different than what's in the locker room. And I don't doubt at all that they're upset with how they played, and they're going to come out trying to prove it on Saturday, especially I'm sure when they watched film back on Sunday and watched film back on Monday, there's a lot of players that I'm sure will be pointed out, embarrassed, and not embarrassed, but they're not going to feel great about what they see. And that's probably the best way you can get your team fired up to go play a road game is don't do that again. Like you want to be on the field. And I think we'll see a very inspired Iowa State team on Saturday in Boulder.
I want to move on to Colorado because it's a Colorado team that won on the road last week and played well against TCU. And we can maybe talk about them in a second, but you mentioned that kind of, gosh, when you talk about Rocco Becht and like that guy and that leadership, I looked at some lines early and it was like 2.5 something, but I really like Iowa State to come out and tweak a few things and play inspired football. Your thoughts just overall about what's to come this Saturday?
Yeah, everything I just said, I echo. I expect a motivated Iowa State team. This is an Iowa State team that when they lost to Arizona State in the Big 12 championship last year, Rocco Becht promised that they'll be back in that game. And if you want to be back in that game, you can't afford to lose this game at all. Considering the opponents you have coming up the rest of the way, the slim margin for error, this is a must win. And Rocco Becht is aware of that. Matt Campbell's aware of that. I think they play like it's a must win. On the other end, Colorado, they've been playing some good football. They were up 14 on BYU. They were up 14 on TCU, lost both those games. I guess my concern on their end would be, man, you were up 2 touchdowns on 2 really good teams and lost both those games. You're 2-4 now. At what point do they quit? If they quit. I think Deion's a good coach. I think Deion's definitely a really good motivator. But in this day and age in college football, I think you always worry about that when a team has that many transfers and they're 2-4. So if Iowa State can go out there, win the coin toss, take the ball, go score, it could be over quick. And I guess back to Cincinnati, that's another area that I kind of disagreed with in the moment. Iowa State deferred, gave Cincy the ball. I think in these road games, if you can take the ball, go score, you can take the juice out of the crowd a little bit And I anticipate Iowa State doing that on Saturday, getting out early and not blowing Colorado out, but winning in a comfortable way.
You look at this game. Jake Brend joining us right now from Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. What does it come down to? You just mentioned some keys and scoring first. What can Iowa State change from last week and do against a Colorado team to get a victory? And you mentioned it. Like, there's some big games coming up. This is a huge game right now to get back on track, and there's that ultimate goal, not the ultimate goal, but that goal of getting back to the Big 12 championship game. You can't drop another game on the road against Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado's an interesting team because they don't really do anything that stands out on paper well, but they also don't have a bunch of glaring weaknesses either. They're kind of just solid across the board. They're able to do all, master of none type of thing. So I think this is one of those games where if you play your own game, you should be fine. If I had to point out one key, get a little bit of pressure on Caden Salter. Salter is dynamic. He is hard to bring down. He is fast. He gets out of the pocket. And those are the types of quarterbacks that give Iowa State issues in the past. If you can just make him a little bit uncomfortable, he has been extremely mistake prone this year. He threw 3 interceptions last week against TCU. He did not look great against Georgia Tech. He kind of blew the game down the stretch against BYU. If you're able to just make him slightly uncomfortable, have your back end hold up in coverage, not allow too many big plays, I think this is the type of day where Colorado could struggle to get above 20 points.
Give me a prediction, and then I got a few other quick things to talk about before you get out of here on a Tuesday.
I'm going to go 31-20.
Is that
Iowa
your first
State.
prediction again?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah. These Tuesdays. Usually
it.
when I come on Wednesdays, I've made my predictions. So
Hot off the presses. I love it. We're breaking news.
31-20 will be all the predictions the rest of the way.
I love it. In Cincinnati, did you have the Skyline chili, and what are your thoughts?
I didn't actually. Ooh. So I was with a group of 3 other journalists, and there was one other guy that was in the same boat as me that was like, yeah, I'd try it. And the other 2 were not interested. So it was one of those deals where if it was convenient and I came across it, I was going to try it, but we didn't really have an opportunity. It was kind of a weird city. I won't get into all of it, but it not incredibly easy to walk around everywhere, get around. So where we stayed in downtown, there wasn't a single restaurant within like 5 or 6 blocks. It was kind of bizarre. So it was a short trip.
Something weird that I was going to ask you. Did David Montgomery make it the game? I'm a Lions fan.
He didn't. He wasn't, at least on the field.
Okay. I thought he might
Matt
sneak
Campbell
over.
Matt Campbell was asked about him after the game, and he made it sound like he was going to see Montgomery, but I'm going to guess he maybe wasn't in town yet. But that was actually another cool deal about the game is Iowa State has recruited Cincinnati really heavily. It's, of course, old Matt Campbell territory. So Deshaunte Jones was there, a former standout wide receiver. Malik Verdon, who's in the NFL, he's a Cincinnati guy, was there. But I don't think Montgomery was able to make it to the game, but I'm guessing he caught up with his old coach after.
You opened a whole can of worms on this show last week with this whole cinnamon roll and chili thing.
My bad.
No, it's so what we've done. You'll be happy to know. Julian Vandervelde, who is my food expert when it comes to, somebody said like, hey, Snoop, which Snoop's chips and salsa is the best in the world. He's your food guy. I'm like, he's my make the food guy. Julian's my consume the food guy. And so we are going to record a segment here in the upcoming days with the cinnamon roll and chili. So I hope to report back that I enjoyed it. I really do.
I can't wait.
Yeah. And it's just, you'd be surprised. Like, and not that you know the Quad Cities too well, but like Aledo is a town kind of south of the Quad Cities. The guy there is like, yeah, it was in our school lunches just recently. Morrison is in Northwest Iowa. They've had it in their school lunches. So it's a thing. It's a thing. So I'm excited to report back to you because you've started something. And then Julian was like, we should try chili with everything. We should do chili with spaghetti and chili. I'm like, relax, Julian. We got to focus one thing at a time. So Julian super excited. What do you have tomorrow? Is it media day for the Cyclones tomorrow?
It is. It's Iowa State men's basketball media day somehow, some way.
It's crazy.
And so today's Tuesday. So in 10 days, Iowa State has their first exhibition game against Creighton in Omaha. So it's a bye week. So I'm going to go Friday night, cover the game. It's going to be a blast. I can't believe basketball season's here. I'm lucky. It's a little different than football. Football, I'm the weeks leading up to media day, to fall camp, I'm studying the two deep because there's so many guys. Basketball, that stuff is just ingrained in the back of my head. So it's kind of like just jumping right back in, and I'm excited. And we should have a lot of great coverage over on Cyclone Fanatic, interviewing, I think, every player one-on-one. We're going to set up a little studio, and that'll all be up on our CF YouTube. So I'm really, really excited for that.
So their first exhibition is Creighton?
Yeah. So they play, in the past, they've always done a secret scrimmage with Creighton.
That everybody knows about, the secret scrimmage that everybody knows about.
TJ Altsberger and Greg McDermott. I mean, TJ is a Greg McDermott guy. That was his first coach. So they've always done a secret scrimmage, and they've been pretty good about keeping it under wraps as far as who played what, who played well. But now in this era, you're looking for every way to make a few dollars, and what better way than to open these to the public? And Iowa State's going to Omaha this year. Creighton will return the favor next year, come to Ames, and then the Cyclones play Northwestern the following week, which they've done that. That's been another secret scrimmage they've played most years. So it'll be fun to get in, see some guys you normally wouldn't see against high level competition, as opposed to seeing them against Grambling State and whoever else, whatever other cupcakes are coming this year.
You'll have to report back to us here in the Quad Cities about Owen Freeman, obviously the Iowa transfer.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if he's cleared yet. I'm not sure 100% if he's cleared yet to play. I know he had like some off-season minor stuff. So, but it isn't crazy. Like, I mean, I knew it was coming, but like we're going to do the show from Iowa men's basketball media day and women's basketball media day next week. And it's like, they sent out the thing and I was like, oh, it's probably 3 weeks away. And they're like, no, it's next week. I'm like, it's a great time of year though. An absolutely great time of year. So, well, my friend, I'll let you get going. I appreciate coming on. Tell people real quick, you mentioned Cyclone Fanatic. Iowa Everywhere is fantastic as well. Give the plug on how people get Jake Brend in their life, because I tell people all the time, you need Jake Brend in your life.
If you can handle it, then Cyclone Fanatic on YouTube. It's just boots on the ground every day. Every day it's Iowa State football. Now we're throwing in men's and women's basketball, wrestling, every single day, whatever Cyclone content you need. Cyclone Fanatic is your spot. Iowa Everywhere, I host a podcast called Bigger Than 12. It's the fastest growing Big 12 podcast in the world. I have no stats to back that up, but we're in our second year and we're really finding our groove. We talk 10% Cyclones, 90% the rest of the Big 12. So it's a really deep dive into the rest of the conference. So Bigger Than 12 over on Iowa Everywhere. It's a fun show.
I love it. Follow Jake, all that good stuff. Get to work, my friend. We'll catch up with you next week.
Thanks a lot, Dazzo.
Thanks, man. The one and only Jake Brend. He's like one of the hardest working dudes I've ever come across, which is really, really cool to see. So check out his stuff. Follow him on social media. But yeah, the Cyclone Fanatic stuff is fantastic. So Cyclone fans here in the Quad Cities, go check that out. Cyclone Fanatic. You're watching this on YouTube. You're on the Off the Air page. Go over, subscribe to the Cyclone Fanatic, and then Iowa Everywhere, and what they do is fantastic stuff as well. So we got more to get to coming up after the break. We'll go from Cyclones to Hawkeyes, and our good friend Tom Kakert will join us to talk not just football, because they meet with the media today. That's coming up later. Coach Ferentz is in the afternoon. But there's football stuff and questions and quarterback stuff we have to get to. But then also, of course, there's also Big Ten Media Day for basketball that comes tomorrow and Thursday. So a lot to get to. Tom Kakert will be with us right after this. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities, Tuesday, October 7th, and it is a busy time of year when it comes to college athletics, especially at the University of Iowa. The Hawkeyes on a bye week, or they were on a bye week. They're back against Wisconsin this Saturday evening up at Wisconsin at 6 p.m. And we are Big Ten basketball media days are later this week. And gosh, the Hawkeyes, as we mentioned earlier in the show, we will be live next Tuesday from Iowa Women's Basketball Media Day and next Wednesday for the Men's Basketball Media Day. So Off the Air will be live both of those, doing shows of both of them, meaning it's that time it's that crossover time of year and makes it busy for this guy. Tom Kakert joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Tommy, did we go all last week without you being on the show? Is that something that actually happened?
No, I was on.
Oh. Well, don't say it like that. Don't say it so disappointingly. Like it was like, oh, you know, you
no, it's like, no, it's the fans are disappointed that I'm on.
No,
nobody
trust
wants
me.
to see me on here.
No, they love Tom Kakert. It is that busy
No,
time
they
of
don't.
year. I think you know where I want to start this morning is with basketball almost, because you're
Well, it's
leaving soon to go to Basketball Media Day up in Chicago for the Big Ten.
Yeah, it's Wednesday, the women, and Thursday, the men. Yeah, and the men's team will have a secret scrimmage this weekend, not so secret, down in St. Louis with St. Louis University. And then the 24th, they're going to scrimmage in Iowa City against, I think probably Texas Tech will probably be a top 10, top
Look
15
at
team.
you. It was funny
sure.
because Josh
So-
Sash was on, Coach Sash was on last week.
It's secret.
I know. He
Secret.
talked about what they wanted to get
Secret.
from it, and then he would describe the teams. And he's like, this, Power 5, and then like the second team at home was a, top 10, top 12 ranked team. And I'm like, Coach, you're just going to have everybody running to figure out who it is. And he kind of, I think it's common knowledge of what it is. But let's start with media days. Obviously, the local ones or the team ones here at the University of Iowa are next week, next Tuesday and Wednesday. You're up in Chicago. What are you looking for when you go to Big Ten Media Days for basketball, especially with the new head coach for the men?
Yeah, I think I just want to spend some time with those guys and get to know them a little bit better and talk to them about what they've seen so far from the team in practice and kind of get Ben McCollum's view of everything, and maybe get some kind of thoughts from some of the other Big Ten coaches like Tom Izzo and Matt Painter about what they know about Ben McCollum. I think that's going to be interesting to talk to those guys about this Iowa team that's basically brand new. So, and then on the women's side, talk to Jan just about her team and what they've seen so far. Kylie Fierbach and Hannah Stolke are going to be there. So it'd be fun to talk to them about what they've seen from their new teammates and from just the culture building of the program. Talk to Hannah a little bit about maybe her USA basketball experience. So it'd be lots of fun.
Tommy, you look at it and, gosh, it's been 15 years since you've gone to a Big Ten Media Day without Fran McCaffrey being at the University of Iowa. I know that's the big difference. And you mentioned getting to know coaches a little more, players a little more. That's the case with Coach McCollum. He's been very outgoing and active in getting the fan base to know him and vice versa. It's been so long since it's not been Fran. What do you kind of expect? You know what to expect with Fran. What is this like? And is it a little different for the first time in a long, long time, not going up to Chicago to see a Fran McCaffrey?
It's going to be different without Fran at these type of events. It's different this time around to see what he's going to, what's Ben McCollum like in these situations. I don't know. I think he'll be fine. I think he's, just kind of a easygoing guy. It's going to be interesting too because Darren DeVries will be there, and he was one of the other candidates, obviously, for the Iowa job. At some point, they were both kind of rumored for Iowa and Indiana, and maybe we'll have some conversations about that. What that was like for both those guys. I don't know that they know each other. They may, because in the irony of Ben took over for DeVries at Drake.
Yeah.
And then both guys were kind of rumored for the Iowa job and the Indiana job, and they each find a spot. So, maybe have a conversation with those guys about that. I think that's interesting, but I don't think they'll say a whole lot about it because coaches just generally don't talk about other jobs.
We'll get into the specifics of the team itself. I think it's going to be, and we'll do that at a later date. I think they're going to be good. I think if somebody said Drake's team last year, the core was back that made it to the Sweet 16 and everything like that, or to the round of 32 and everything like that. If you told me that they also added 2 really good transfers and some talented freshmen, they would probably be, in my opinion, a top 15, top 20, top 25-ish team. So I'm intrigued by Iowa. We'll get into all that next week. We'll be live from Iowa Basketball Media Day on Wednesday around noon, 12:30. So we'll keep reminding and telling you guys about that, but that's going to be a bunch of fun. We'll focus on Iowa maybe a little more than Big Ten wise, Tommy. What you're going to Big Ten Media Day. What does this conference look like? Obviously, Purdue is really, really good. Michigan is good as well. Where do you see the rankings, or not rankings, but the how this thing sets up as we go into this winter in the Big Ten?
Well, I can probably tell you that Purdue is going to be really good. They might have the National Player of the Year in Braden Smith. They've got another potential All-American in Trey Kaufman-Wren. Fletcher Lawyer's going to be there too. They're bringing him just as a side, and that's another really good player. I mean, they're loaded. Matt Painter's got a great team, and Payne's one of the best guys out there. So it'll be good to, he's just got his program rolling right now. Michigan's going to be really good. Dusty May's doing a great job there. And oh, by the way, the guy down the road from him, Tom Izzo, or up the road, I should say, from him, Tom Izzo, not bad. Hall of Fame coach. One of the best coaches in college basketball. You got that. You got an interesting Illinois team made up of a lot of foreign players, which is going to be interesting to see what they do on the court. Yeah, I think there's kind of a separation of Purdue and then Michigan and Michigan State probably, and then there's a lot of teams from like 3 to 12 probably that are just kind of in that same mix. And I think Iowa's in there. I think Illinois is probably in there. So it's going to be super interesting to see how this shakes out. I think it's going to be a tough Big Ten, but Ben McCollum's won. Here's the thing I always come back to with Ben. Ben's won over 80% of his games in his college in his career as a head coach. I don't care where you do that at.
Mm-hmm.
It's impressive. And he just bounces right up to Drake, and they go 31-4 on the season. In his first year there, playing with a lot of guys that were at Northwestern Missouri State with him. That's another jump. It is. Big Ten's different than Mo Valley. Mo Valley wasn't great last year, but he's got something. And I'm really curious to see how it translates in the Big Ten. I don't know how it's going to translate, but I'm real curious. I'm super interested to see how it does.
No, it should be extremely interesting. I will say this too. Iowa and Illinois play once. It's in Iowa City. Ked's already been on here. He's good with a bet. So I'm guessing that between the two of you guys, the loser gets the tattoo of the other team on the show. Like, is that something we can do, or what are we thinking?
Not getting the tattoos. Not getting tattoos.
All right. Well, viewers can send in stuff. If they want to see Tom and Ked do something fun, send ideas, and I'll see if I can convince them to do something fun along the way as well. But yeah, one meeting again this year. It's in Iowa City. I think Ked said he doesn't care, that it doesn't matter where it's being played at. So he was already confident as usual. I know that's weird for you to hear, Tom. Ked being confident. I know it's weird. Tom Kakert joining us now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Tom, let's talk about the women real quick. I want to let people know that next Tuesday's show, 9 a.m. early start, will be at Carver Hawkeye Arena as well. We'll do Off the Air live from Iowa Basketball Media Day for the women as well. And also, programming note tomorrow on the show, on Wednesday, assistant coach Lysandra Barrett will join us right at 10 o'clock, right off the top of the show here tomorrow. So a lot of Iowa women's basketball to get to. Quickly with the women on Wednesday, you mentioned some of the headlines as well. Recruiting going well. We had Kyle on last week. Everybody's exciting about that. Coach Jensen's going to be on the Hawkeye Tailgate Show with me coming up on this weekend on the Iowa Hawkeye Radio Network. So just an exciting time for women's basketball in general. And I think Coach Jensen's done a fantastic job of, replacing a legend, and she's just hit the ground running and continued some really good stuff.
She has, and there was a lot of people who wondered, could she keep the momentum going, and could they capitalize on Caitlin Mania and everything on the recruiting side? I think she's answering that with a yeah, she can. Now they got to finish this up and maybe get an Addison Bjorn or Jenica Lewis or both, or any number of players, Murray Girl too. There's a lot of options for them, but if they can close strong and get a couple more players in this class, then you can start dreaming really big with the talent that they'll have. Iowa dreaming of going to a Final Four is not a far off dream that only that happened because 22 was on the roster. They can dream even bigger that this could continue to happen and build something that's every place starts somewhere when it becomes like something. Like Connecticut wasn't always like a women's basketball powerhouse until Gino Ariema built it and had success, and then he just kept building and building and building and having success. And not saying that Iowa can be the next UConn, but they can build something that's really significant, and they're on their way to doing that. Now they just got to kind of finish this off and get a couple more, and then you coach them up, and you can start dreaming big.
No, absolutely. And this year's team will will be a lot of fun as well. So reminder, Jan Jensen's going to be on the Hawkeye Tailgate Show with us on the Hawkeye Radio Network coming up on Saturday. If you're in Iowa City on Saturday afternoon, 4:00, stop by Big Grove, say hi to Coach yourself. It should be a ton of fun as well. Tom, we're almost 15 minutes into this segment, and I haven't even brought up the football program. Back off the bye. You're going to Iowa City here in a little bit to meet with the players. Everybody will be talking to Kirk Ferentz, of course, at 1:00. So keep locked into Tommy's at the Hawkeye Report on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and we'll get you updates. What do we know? What do we expect? I thought Pat was funny on the show yesterday because he's like, they don't tell me anything because I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to know. What do we know here in the morning on Tuesday about what it'll look like at the quarterback position in Madison on Saturday night?
Well, interesting things in the quarterback position this week. One, that Mark Randazzo was at the top of the depth chart. I didn't expect anything different because why tip your hand unless you have to tip your hand? I do think he's basically day-to-day. He's trying to recover. Tim Lester said that last Tuesday, that he's trying to get himself back into be able to play, but his availability was cloudy. I can pretty much confidently say that if Iowa had played last week, Mark wouldn't have been out there. But the bye week came at a great time, so maybe he's able to get out there against Wisconsin. The other thing that's interesting is it's Hank Brown or Jeremy Hecklinski. So it's either or for the backup quarterback. And Tim kind of hinted that Hecklinski's been playing really well in practice. So I think that's another kind of sub-headline from the two deeps, along with like Jaden Harrell not being listed. So that means he's going to be out. So do you see Carson Shire maybe move over to middle linebacker and Rex Roth? Potentially, or you could see Jaden Montgomery and Montgomery go out there, and then with Carson Shire, that's the other possibility.
Tommy, you look at what Kirk's going to say at 1:15, 1:45. When do you guys get him? And I just think he's going to say day to day, don't you? Like you mentioned not tipping the 100%. Hand. Why in the world would he come and answer Tom Kakert's question today by saying, yeah, we're going to have him, we're not going to have him? I think part of the advantage is not knowing what to expect from Iowa quarterback on Saturday, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's something that they're probably going to play along and try to play it out as long as they can. We may know kind of based on how, at 11 a.m. today, if Mark Gronowski's available, what does he say? How's he walking around? If you're able to tell right away if he's limping around or he walks out there in a big brace or something, and give it away. But we'll see what they say this week. I'm really interested. I'm still not 100% sure that he's going to play, but I think he's trying to play, and good on him. But if he's going to play, how hindered is he? Because he's probably going to be wearing a bulky brace like he did early in the season in the Albany game. He wore a bulky brace. So if he's going to have to wear that brace, how much does that change what he can do on the field, and does that impact what the playbook looks like for Iowa this week?
Tom Kakert joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Tommy, we talked about coming out of the bye week, 2 of 3 very winnable games, and Penn State in between, and now we know that's a night game, a 6:00 game on Peacock, another night game in a season of night games.
By the way, having run a message board for just about 25 years, it's interesting because fans always wanted night games, always want night games. Now they're complaining there's too many night games.
No. I thought, and I don't know what I know, but I think one of the 2 games, the Penn State or the Oregon, had to be at night. Like, it just has to be. And so I'm happy about it. media-wise, we don't like it probably. It's easier for us to, be done at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2:30, and get to doing some work and stuff. So they make it more of a challenge there. But I think it's going to be a great atmosphere there. But you look at it, I guess we got to start with Wisconsin and kind of focus on Wisconsin. Forget about the other ones. It's been a bad year in Madison. What do we know? What do you know about Wisconsin? Luke Fickell seeing a bunch of pressure, hot seat, all that kind of stuff. What is the state of the Badgers as we get ready to head to Madison this weekend?
It's not great for Fickell, and probably not great for their AD who hired him. I mean, you just never know how a hire is going to work out, because I think if you would have asked anybody when Wisconsin hired Luke Fickell, I know my reaction was like, whoa, holy cow.
Mine was
I was like, holy cow, they got Luke Fickell? Really? He's coming off, a college football playoff and has Cincinnati rolling. And I thought he would end up at Ohio State before he'd end up anywhere else. And he, it hasn't worked out. He tried to, and maybe there's a cautionary tale in there of trying to make a program into something that they're not, bringing in kind of this spread type offense we're going to throw it around. I'm like, not in Madison. You just get big running backs from New Jersey, like Ron Dane, and run them. And that's what you do. And he didn't do that. And they're playing catch up ever since. And they've kind of lost some of the culture and everything, and it's been messy. And but they're using the Iowa game last year as a motivation now, so we'll see if that kind of sparks something in this game, which is a trophy game. The Heartland Trophy will be on the line this week.
I think people look at Wisconsin's record and what's going on and think, okay, and it's a very winnable game, but think it's going to be anything but easy coming up on Saturday. It's a tough place to play. Camp Randall's always a tough place to play, especially at night, all those kind of things. What does Iowa have to do to be successful on Saturday? Because this is a huge game for Iowa. Obviously, with the way the schedule breaks the rest of the way, you don't want to get to 500. You don't want to be 3-3. 4-2 and above 500 in Big Ten play is super important. What do they have to do to go to Madison and get a victory this week?
I think they've got to control the line of scrimmage. I think it's going to be huge. This is a line of scrimmage game. And if Iowa can win the line of scrimmage, I don't know who's going to start at quarterback for Wisconsin. Is Edwards going to be healthy? I don't know. Are they going to go with the guy they went back to this week, the new guy, or are they going to go with that O'Brien kid that really struggled? I don't know. It's hard to say what they're going to do. And they don't have a real kind of bell cow running back. They don't have a, Ron Dane or Taylor or anybody like that. They don't have a guy, Melvin Gordon, any of those guys. They don't have a guy like that right now. So that's hindering them. They just don't have the studs on defense like they've had before. It's just a team that kind of seems like it's rudderless. And I don't know if Fickell's going to be able to get it back. But I mean, what was it, last home game or the home game they lost? They were chanting "Fire Fickell" at halftime. It's crazy. The Maryland game.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
And tell me,
that's a couple of years in.
You mentioned it, and it goes back to the people that tell me I love Kirk Ferentz, but it's time, and it's like I always used the Dr. Tom Steve Alford analogy, if you will, but you can use this. This is a perfect example of what can happen if it doesn't go correctly. And it can look great on paper. It can make sense to you and me and to the media of like, wow, what a home run hire. It's got to happen. It's got to make sense. And I don't know. You mentioned all those running backs, Tommy. Gee, many Christmas. They've had a lot of good ones. Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon, Ron Dane. I mean, we're getting old if you get into the Ron Dane stuff, but they have had just a bevy of really good running backs up at Wisconsin. You look at this game as well, and the Iowa defense played so good against Indiana. And Tom, take out the first half against Rutgers. They played really good all season. The turnovers are starting to get there. I feel like it's a couple turnover game for Iowa, or takeaway game, I should say, for Iowa. Your thought, the way so. Wisconsin's playing, doesn't Iowa have to get some big plays on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, I think so. I think this will be one of those games where they get some turns and they're able to capitalize on them and make some plays in the back end with some interceptions or force a couple fumbles. I think they've got a chance to do those things in this game. But they've got to win up front. They got to win on the offensive side with the line opening some holes for Kamari Moulton. And the good news is Xavier Williams is going to be back, so they'll have that power back. Hopefully, Jazz Patterson was not listed, so I don't know if he's going to be back yet, but he'd be another guy to watch. This is a line of scrimmage game. It's always going to be a line of scrimmage game. It was last year, the year before, and it'll be that way again on Saturday.
Tommy, before I let you go, I think Iowa, when people talk about their offense, I always say, like, look who they've been missing. I know and everyone's like, you're making excuses, but I think your number one wide receiver, arguably coming into the year, and Seth Anderson's been dinged up too, but has been Reese Vanderzee. And then obviously Addison Ostranga's been out, and you mentioned the running backs. It's almost like they take turns. We don't know who's the best running back because they're taking turns missing a couple games. I didn't look at the depth chart because I'm not a responsible journalist like you are. Are they expecting Reese Vanderzee back? And what kind of impact? I think they are. What kind of impact can that guy? He's just a different receiver than what they have right now, isn't he?
Yeah, the only thing that Tim Lester said was they were hoping to get him back on the practice field this week. So we'll get an update tomorrow, Tuesday on what his status is going to be this weekend. I think he's going to play, but I think that was the plan. But you got to get him out there on the field and see how he reacts and see how his foot feels after all that.
He's a different receiver than what Iowa has, though, isn't he?
Big frame. He's able to do things in crowded space and go up and get a ball. Dayton Howard's filled that role fairly well, but Reese Vanderzee is another level above that right now.
Tommy, before we let you go, do you have a pick this early in the week? I know we normally talk to you a little later. Iowa, Wisconsin at night. I think you had them in your Fearless forecast as a win up in Madison, I believe.
I did.
So what's the prediction? You got one?
Feels like 17-13. Just feels like a old-fashioned Wisconsin-Iowa game.
Yep. No, I mean, it's just if it's played correctly, and that's exactly the way it's going to be, I'd be shocked if it's anything higher than that. I think the Hawkeyes win every game, but I think they win this game as well. And I would kind of agree. You look at like 2013 or something like that, 2016, something like that. It should be a good night for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Tommy, tell them about how to get all the stuff with you in Chicago. I know Kyle might be the hardest working young man I've ever met. And then obviously Blair's killing it, and Tanner's doing great with wrestling and some recruiting news that's coming out now and all that kind of stuff. Tell people, give the plug. It's a great time of year. If you're not a member of the Hawkeye Report, shame on you. There's no reason not to get signed up.
Yeah, it's just $1 for the first 7 days. Just sign up, go to HawkeyeReport.com. We'll take care of you. Also get a free year of The Athletic thrown in there for that, so you can read Scott Docterman's great work and Bruce Feldman, Stu Mandel, Ralph Russo, all the really talented people at The Athletic, along with this. And the On3 family is growing. I mean, we just signed a content deal with Field of 68. That's Jeff Goodman and Rob Douster and all those guys from Field of 68 who do a great job with college hoops. We've got Andy Staples, Ari Wasserman, Chris Lowe, all these guys. The great writing team at On3 and Rivals, and so we're killing it. So it's come join us.
One thing I was going to say to you, have you realized, and this isn't bringing up Bears and Lions, I'm not doing that kind of stuff, but have you realized how good Jack Campbell is this year?
Oh, he's great.
Not that he hasn't been. He's one of the best linebackers in football, and I was going to bring it up with you on here.
Is he the best middle linebacker to play at Iowa under Ferentz?
Oh, him, Josie, like 1A, 1B, right?
Yeah, Jay Higgins.
Yeah.
Abdul.
Yeah. I think that's all I can think of. That's for sure. No, I just wanted to bring it up because he's next. He's going to get paid, Tommy, and hopefully it's by the Honolulu Blue and Silver because he'd be
a good Bear.
His PFF grade. Shut up and get away from him. His PFF grade this past week, 92.8. 92.8. He's been next level good. So I just wanted to point that out with you on, not that because of you, but it's obviously an Iowa football segment. He's been a superstar. He's going to be a Pro Bowler this year, maybe an All Pro. So
they did play Kyle's Bengals. So
wow,
Kyle Huseman is a Bengals fan. So
wow, I mean
the Bungles.
The guy who's doing all your work and you're going to take a cheap shot at him. Hey, and we know this. A win is a win in the NFL. No matter how they come, no matter how bad the team is, we'll take them and run. So, Tommy, be safe getting to Chicago and Iowa City today, but Chicago after that, then Madison after that. Your poor wife's never going to get to see you. Actually, good for your wife.
Happy.
She's never going to get to see you.
She's happy. Yeah, she's happy.
No,
she's
you're
happy
not. You're not going to bring me down in this anger. Did that to me yesterday. Next thing you know, I'm bashing my wife on the show, and it didn't go over well. So no, she didn't say a word. Okay. She doesn't watch. So
she doesn't watch.
No, why would
Good
she?
Thing.
So well, she will today because Tom Kakert's there. So Tommy, be good. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care.
All right, that is the one and only Tom Kakert. A lot of stuff going on. It's that crossover time, like I mentioned. You got football going on, obviously, but media days right around the corner. Big Ten Media Day coming up Wednesday and Thursday in Chicago. So Tommy's heading up to Chicago to get you covered. Check out HawkeyeReport.com. Also, I'll keep talking about it, but as I mentioned, tomorrow on the show, assistant basketball coach for the Iowa Hawkeyes and the women's team, Lysandra Barrett, will join us at 10 o'clock right off the top of the show. And then coming up next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, we'll be in Iowa City for back-to-back shows. Off the Air with Matt Randazzo live from Women's Basketball Media Day on Tuesday morning, and then Men's Basketball Media Day coming up on Wednesday around noon or 12:30. So we'll keep letting you know times. It's kind of a fluid time when it comes to when we'll come on YouTube and X, because when the press conference gets done and they come downstairs and all those kind of things. But it should be a lot of fun. I don't know if you missed the show that we did from Iowa Football Media Day. It was a lot of fun. So excited about next week, to say the least. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful for both the student and, yes, the parent as well. Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. We've been talking a lot recently about what a great time of year it was, and we'll talk football, postseason baseball, that kind of stuff. It's postseason time, or almost postseason time, I should say, for a lot of other fall sports, cross country. Golf was huge yesterday and today. Volleyball hitting their home stretch as well. And as always, the MAC race is heated once again with some of the best teams in the entire state, including the second-ranked Assumption Knights. And joining me now, their head coach, Greg Cotton, joins me. First and foremost, Coach, I appreciate you doing this. It's not every day you get a random text message from a former sports guy saying, hey, come on my show. I appreciate you responding and joining me. Thanks so much.
No, I follow the show on Twitter or X. And I actually even said something to my wife. I was like, that'd be kind of cool to get onto that, if we have a good enough season and here we are. So.
Well, dreams come true, I guess, Coach. I don't know if that's a dream or anything like that, but you are having a fantastic season. The ranking is fantastic. This program. You were with the program last year. Before we talk about the team itself, talk about yourself back in the high school coaching ring and as a head coach at Assumption. What has this season, maybe last season into this season, been like for you?
Yeah. The end of last season, obviously, I don't think we finished the way we wanted to. And so I think the girls that, we had a few pieces come into the school as well. The transfer of Carson Kelly from PV to Assumption was huge for us. And then we also had a kid, Piper Hodge, transfer in from the North Scott School District. So they came in January last year and, put in a ton of work with us during the summer. And, I've known them. I've known Piper since she's 11, and I've known Carson since she's born. So those were easy fits to get into our program. But the work that we put in over the summer, they're all club kids too. So they're playing year round. And, we didn't like how last year finished. So, the goal, we didn't really talk about it, out loud, but I think everybody's goal, we all knew it. So we didn't even really have to put it on the board and touch it and all the things that, some teams have to do. I think everybody knew where we want to be when we want to be playing in that last match of the season. So,
no, absolutely.
And we intentionally set up our schedule this year to match the talent level that we have. So, we got out of some tournaments that were here on the east side of the state that maybe didn't push this group or didn't push previous Assumption teams as well. And so earlier in the season, we went over to Ankeny and played in, probably the best Iowa tournament. They're the Ankeny Centennial or Early Bird tournament. And then we just got back from Chicago playing, it's like playing on the club side. It's like playing in an open division, because all these schools that are coming in, there was teams from Arizona, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Michigan, Florida, Ohio, Wisconsin, wow. 2 teams from Iowa. So it was good. So we needed to be battle tested when we get to Coralville.
You look at what you guys just did this past weekend, kind of talk about that, because you mentioned some of the teams and being in gyms and looking around, and there's number 10 in the nation. There's number 16. It's kind of all around you. Results aren't maybe what you guys are focused on at that point. It's more, being battle tested. Kind of talk about that process, because you get tested in the MAC, but this is such a great way to get tested and get ready for what's to come here in about a month, less than a month even.
Yeah. For the MAC, historically over the last few years, you're going to get 3 really good matches. You get Bettendorf, North Scott, and PV. And the stuff that we saw this weekend, we can't replicate that stuff in practice. So, going and finding those experiences and knowing that what we need to come back into the gym to work on is great. We can do we can go as hard as we want in practice, but until we get some other kids on the other side of the net that force us to get uncomfortable, that's, we're not going to grow.
No, absolutely. Greg Cotton, head coach over at Assumption, joining me right now and off there with Matt Randazzo. Coach, you look at, it's the seniors that have been there. I'm talking about like the Ella Dares. Ella Dares, one of those people that, like, if I called her name once, I called it a million times when I was at Pleasant Valley. These seniors are used to success. And you mentioned wanting more from last year. When they were freshmen, they won a state championship. When they were sophomores, they made it to the semifinals. Last year, quarterfinals. The experience that group has, and then you add a few transfers, kind of talk about that, because they've been battle tested. They've been to the biggest stages at the state tournament as well.
Yeah, last year, when we got there, we had a couple, like Belle, my daughter, was a freshman. That's her first experience with the bright lights. Most of these kids play in some big volleyball tournaments over the winter. But there's nothing like the fire coming out, in Coralville, or, just the amount of people that are there. So I think our feet won't get so slippery, or as like Coach Ferentz says, I think our sideways moments are going to be a little bit less, coming into this year. I think, having, Carson there as well, as compared to, Ellie graduating and then having to try to find, an underclassman at this point would have been hard for this group, but she's fit in seamlessly. And she plays club with Ella and Aaron all year. So they have that to fall back on. So
a volleyball coach quoting Kirk Ferentz on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. That's something right there. I appreciate that. Coach, you look at obviously goals, and you mentioned what they are, and obviously it starts with that state tournament, but the MAC is important and it's special, and you guys are undefeated right now. A game coming up tonight against Davenport North, and then Pleasant Valley a week from tonight as well. Kind of talk about that and what it means to the girls, and obviously a really big, not putting anything past senior night tonight and North, but a battle with Pleasant Valley maybe next week is pretty significant.
Yeah, 100% on the not looking past anything. We've seen some results in the MAC this year where maybe, where there's one of the higher profile teams have lost some sets to teams that just kind of sneak up and snag one from you, which is not our goal against North. And obviously the PB one's a big one. Obviously we want that outright championship if possible. I think looking at the banners out in the gym last week is the first time I looked at it. I was curious. I mean, the MAC's great. State's ultimate goal. MAC's great would be a nice feather in the cap. But I think it was 2018 was the last time Assumptions had a share of it. And it might be 20 years since they won it outright. So that'd be a huge testament to the senior class to go out with.
Absolutely. And it is, especially in the MAC, those upper echelon teams usually translate to that next level as well. Coach, you mentioned Coralville. I want to talk to you about that before I let you go, because Coralville does it right. I mean, you just mentioned the fire, the environment, all that kind of stuff. I thought it's been a great transition to Coralville and what they do and what they present the ladies. Can you talk about that, especially when you look at today's day and age when girls' sports especially are spotlighted more, deserve more, I guess, if that makes any sense. I think they do it right. Can you talk about like Coralville? And you mentioned the environment. That's kind of addicting, isn't it?
It's different, and I think the product that's on the floor is matched with the everything that goes around it. The banners, the pink, the floor, everything they thought about it. You can tell, to put that product to match the game that's going on. So the level of volleyball in Iowa is great, and you can see it, with the likes of a Peyton Peterson who's out having a tremendous year at Louisville. There's Iowa kids sprinkled around all of the top programs. in the country. So, Cedar Rapids, it was a nice event. Parking was easy. I think everybody was worried about the parking in Coralville, but that has not been an issue. The fans are closer. Cedar Rapids, you had to sit up and you were looking down. Depending on where you were sitting, you couldn't see maybe the back 10 feet of the court until you got to the championship match when it was centered. But yeah, Coralville's great. The thing that I talked to my wife about is there's a lot of good kids that are playing volleyball in school right now, and some of these schools don't and never get an opportunity to experience that, which it's too bad because I think it's something that these kids are going to remember forever.
No, absolutely. It's a special experience. Coach, before I let you go, you coached, I think it was 2018, I think you told me before we started, in high school, and then the years away, club and all that, and getting back in it next year. Can you talk to me about what it's been like personally for you to get back at it? I know you mentioned that state tournament last year kind of opened your eyes to, this is kind of what I want to do a little more of. Kind of talk about what that's been like being back at the high school volleyball level and doing it with these girls that you know really well.
Yeah. Again, to go back to another conversation with my wife, I was just like, I have my youngest daughter here, and how many chances do you have to spend another 2 or 3 years with with a family member playing? And that was something I didn't want to pass up. And then in regards to the high school stuff, it's different than club. Like club's 2 nights a week. High school's a grind. We got a JV match going on downstairs. My freshmen are over at Central playing tonight. You're thinking about buses. What time are buses getting here? Are the refs going to be here on time? Do I have enough score sheets? And then building the staff around you to help you take some of that stuff on and allow you to be able to still coach and not just be a coach / administrator. I think I like to do a lot of that stuff, and I probably need to delegate a little bit more of that to free up some time just for family life and work outside of just the high school stuff.
Sure.
To have a little bit more balance there. But I figure it's 12 weeks. I mean, I can give it everything I've got for 12 weeks.
No, absolutely. So. You're doing a fantastic job, Coach. We can do this again after a state championship. Next time, let's have the talent instead of the coach. Maybe we'll have some of the young. They're probably they do most of the work, right?
They're itching to get on.
There you go. Well, we'll make that happen. We'll make that happen. So
I had to let Ella know. I was like, hey, I'm going to go get on Randazzo's podcast, and she's like, oh, really? Yeah. So no, they would be ready.
Not that you need any extra incentive, but like an outright MAC championship for the first time in 20 years would kind of sweeten the pot a little. I'm just let them know if you need more motivation. I don't think my show should be any motivation next week. That's going to be a big game besides all that, but we'll make that happen, Coach.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
If they can get more views or more followers, they're in for it.
There you go. I think that's what everything's about these days. Coach, I appreciate your time. Be healthy, all that good stuff. Best of luck, and we'll catch up again real soon. Thanks so much.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. That is Greg Cotton, the head volleyball coach over at Assumption. The Lady Knights, really, really good this year and battle tested. What they did this past weekend, going up to Chicago and seeing the teams they see, like Coach said, you can't simulate it elsewhere. So it'll be an interesting finish to the MAC, and then of course the postseason right around the corner on the volleyball courts as well. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air with Matt Randazzo on a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday, a cloudy, rainy early morning here in the Quad Cities. It was tough for me to get up, especially when I stayed up late last night watching the Cubs. Disappointing Cub fans this morning. Disappointed Cub fans, I should say. They dropped Game 2 of the NLDS up in Milwaukee after getting off to a great 3-0 start. For the second straight game, they got a home run in the first inning to give themselves a lead. They gave it back quickly. They end up losing 7-3. And it's a big hole, an 0-2 hole for the Chicago Cubs in the best of 5 series with their neighbors to the north. And joining me now to talk all about it, my good friend Larry Hawley. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
No, thanks for having me. Always appreciate it. Wish we had better things to talk about when it comes to the Cubs, but right now, not really.
It's funny because I when I messaged you last night, I'm like, hey, hopefully we do have a Cubby win to talk about. And then I think that second 3-run homer, we both kind of knew that was probably so I guess we'll open it up with just Game 2 in general. And for the second straight game, they get off to that great start. They get a 3-run homer. And you and I talked weeks ago, in order for them to have success in the postseason, they're going to probably have to do it with the bats. Great start, and then nothing after that. Just talk about the start of the game and kind of giving it back right away.
Well, I think it's deflating, right? Because you get the chance to go up not just 1 run, but 3 runs early. You know, Suzuki gets on the board. You're feeling good about things. You know, the Milwaukee's going with a little bit of a different pitching strategy. You're thinking, okay, you're going to break through, get this done. And then you're back to tied again. Shota gives up another homer, so he's been giving up a lot of those lately. All of a sudden, this narrative of, hey, maybe things will change, doesn't change. Milwaukee gets 2 more homers. And then suddenly the game, you know, at that point at 7-3, you're kind of thinking the game's probably gone based on the hitting that the Cubs have had here so far in the playoffs, even going back to the Padres series. You know, they haven't scored more than 3 runs since Game 5 of the 2017 NLDS against the Nationals. They had 9 that day. They haven't scored more than 3 since. And if you actually go back, you know, to find back-to-back games where they scored more than 3 runs, it's Game 6 and 7 of the World Series. You know, back in 2016. That's the last time they did it. You know, so they've had an epidemic of bad. I believe that would be 13 consecutive playoff games with 3 or less runs. Not going to happen because remember we talked about the fact that the Cubs were going. I really felt with the Cubs starter issues, they were going to have to hit the hell out of the ball just to really have a chance. If they really wanted to make a truly deep run in the playoffs, they are running out of time to try to change that, and they're running out of time quickly.
You look at pitching, and I said on the show yesterday that Shota he's going to make mistakes. He's given up 10 home runs in the last 23 innings pitched. That's a ton of home runs. And I kind of said, like, he's going to make his mistakes. They got to be solo shots. And they weren't. And they were a 3-run bomb early, a solo shot later, but a quick short outing. When you look at those kind of things, if you're not scoring and you're giving up the long ball, it's a recipe for disaster. Pitching wise, Larry, it's hard. We talked Justin Steele out for the year before things even get going. You find maybe that other ace in Cade Horton, and he's not available to you. Shota's not Shota from the year before, and that's unfortunate. Pitching wise, it's tough right now. Now they turn game 3 to maybe their best pitcher right now. Pitching wise, just give me the big view of this pitching, because they talk about in October you win baseball games because of pitching. Boy, it's tough if you're the Chicago Cubs right now.
Yeah, and you mentioned Justin Steele, and don't forget, in many ways he could be the number one pitcher right now, and he's been out pretty much the entire year outside of a couple of weeks. Shota's not pitching well. Whatever it was, he has lost that. I think I went to the game last Tuesday, game 2 of the NL Wildcard Series, and Shota almost got through that. And then Manny got him for a 2-run homer, which turned out to be a fairly big play, because at that point the Cubs weren't going to squeeze out much more than 1 run, and they never even got anything, as it would turn out. You look at Cade Horton, you really needed him to be healthy. It's a shame that happened to him, because I think he was somebody who could have pitched well, eaten up some innings, could have given you that really quality start where, hey, if you're struggling on offense, maybe 3 runs would have been just enough. And I think you're right with Jameson Taillon. He's probably your guy left. He's your ace. I'm assuming he goes tomorrow to try to save the Cubs season, at least for one other day. But even if they get past that, you've got to look at, do you start Colin Ray? Do you start doing bullpen games? Do you try to bring Matt Boyd again back on a fairly quick rest? That did not work last time. I would think Boyd might be there. Maybe, if they do somehow reach a game 5, which I don't think I'm wrong in saying that, because right now you're not having a lot of faith. But right now it's a problem, and it's a problem because the Cubs don't have, outside of Taillon, an arm you really feel pretty good about. And really the only reason you don't feel really great about Boyd is the fact that he didn't do well on short rest. And unless the Cubs do reach a game 5, you're going to have to bring him back fairly quickly. Although if he does pitch Thursday, he'd have a pretty normal rest. But like I said, it's a tough situation, and injuries have kind of made it part of that. And also the fact that at the trade deadline, the Cubs may have had a chance to acquire maybe an elite starter, or maybe even like an elite reliever. They made the decision not to do that. They didn't want to cough up the prospects to do that. That's fine. If you feel like you really have faith in those people in the minor leagues, but at the same point, you're sitting here down 2-0 to the Brewers. You're not sure who you're going to start, even if you get past this game 3. These are the places where it comes up, and this is the problem you now have.
Larry, you look at Craig Counsell, and I've had some people complain about things that he's done, and maybe the biggest one is the short rest with Matthew Boyd, and he turns around and I don't know what the answer was. You know what I mean? Like, yes, you can be critical, but unless you have the opposite answer, it's tough. His hands are tied as well. Just kind of talk with Craig Counsell. I think you're getting more bang for your buck with Craig Counsell than you would otherwise. I think there's too many pluses to outweigh the minuses. Don't love the decision on the short rest for Boyd, but I guess my question is, what was the alternative when you're looking at the staff the way it is and the arms we just talked about?
Maybe Colin Ray goes, then you would have Ray for him. Then you probably go, maybe you go Boyd for game 2. Is that a great option? Not really. Again, you're kind of hamstrung not having Horton, not having Steele, although you've been used to not having Steele. And you're, again, this is maybe one where you go even a little bit back to that and where you could question Counsell. Maybe Javier Assad would have been somebody good to have up and start game 1. And then you have Boyd game 2, and then maybe you have some more options. If you want to try the bullpen game like they did in game 2 against the Padres, maybe bring Shota in a little bit later. You have that option. I think if anything, I would have thought maybe Javier Assad. But then again, even in that scenario, is that the perfect scenario? Not really. You do have Boyd, who has pitched incredibly well. Maybe you just go with it. You just hope your all-star guy can do that, and it just didn't work out. You're just running out of options. And again, why are you running out of options? Because you have injuries at the starting pitching position, and you didn't really go out to acquire one when you've had an injury that has been around with Justin Steele since the beginning of the year. So Counsell's doing what he can. If some people want to question him, I think there are always room to question. Maybe keeping Assad on would have maybe been a little bit better of a thought. But he wanted Ben Brown for some strikeouts if they could get there. And, at the end of the day, they really, to be fair with you, really haven't been in a position where you needed high leverage strikeouts in a game so far, because even last night, by about the 4th or 5th inning, that game kind of felt gone. And that's where you are.
Larry Hawley joining me right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I want to circle back to the decision, because that's the other big criticism is you had a chance before the trade deadline to go for it, and the Cubs did not go for it, if that makes any sense. I'm the believer of, you want to get to the postseason for a long time and do it year after year after year. And if you're in the dance, then you'll eventually get one, all that kind of stuff. But I'm also, it's hard. It's hard to get to the postseason. You have an opportunity and a chance. And yes, you look at Matt Shaw, and I think he's going to be a good baseball player. And he was really good late in the season, But now you're watching him struggle in the postseason. Is it simple enough to say, you didn't go for it, so shame on you, this is what you get?
You make decisions for your franchise moving forward, right? And you pay the consequences when you fail, and you celebrate when it works out. There was a high price for pitching at the deadline. And if the Cubs didn't want to pay it, so be it. I've mentioned to you on here before that you're right. Playoff, positions can be precious. And sometimes you've got to pay a price to get to that point. The 2016 Cubs certainly paid that price, when they gave up Gleyber Torres to go get Aroldis Chapman. There are other ways in which they sacrificed, now for later. You do that. I've always felt that the Cubs are in this weird position in the Hoyer era where they don't necessarily know when to go. Like they're not really deciding on when they would like to go. And there isn't a good answer to it until the results are in. But I think at the end of the day, this is a Cub team that could have really used something. And I felt like at the deadline, even if they overpaid a little bit, they've got enough in their system. You have enough there that I felt like they could have done it. I was more on the end of trying to push a little bit to go for it because I feel like they hadn't done it in 5 years. And you as a franchise are now a franchise. It's not sitting there and being rebuilt. You're not small market. You are a big market. You go do those things, So that's kind of where I'm at. But you're right. They have paid that price in some ways now. You come to a Milwaukee series where, Matt, I won't lie to you. I always say never because baseball is there and you don't want to have a freezing cold take. But it would kind of seem miraculous right now if the Cubs won the NLDS. Like, I think it would seem that way right now. Looking on their last 2 games and looking at where their starting pitching is right now, it would be fairly remarkable if they came back and won the next 3 games. And again, you make that decision at the deadline, that's where you are.
No, I completely agree. Let's look to Game 3 before I let you get out of here. They're putting their best pitcher out there. It sounds such like a Cub defeatist thing to say, but like, I just want to win a game, and that's not the goal. And it shouldn't. That's what stinks is you should never want to be in a point where you're like, man, I just want to win a game. But like, obviously that's where it starts. You can't play on Thursday unless you win on Wednesday. All hands on deck on Wednesday. What does it look like? What's the thought process? How do the Cubs extend this thing out and maybe get to a Game 4 and then possibly a Game 5 when we can start thinking miracles and all that kind of stuff?
Well, I think you got to get Tyone's got to have a great start. You've got to have him really deliver a start where you're not getting behind early. You're not ending up where you're down 2-0 or 3-0 after 2 innings. You've got to get a lead. I think it's really important. Brings me back to another much more painful series than this because that team was really ready to go. The 2008 Cubs against the Dodgers, where that was a lot different than this year. That team was built to win right now. They were in many ways a World Series favorite, and they flat out died. Like they were flat terrible in their 2 games at Wrigley Field. Come out Game 3 against the Dodgers, and I believe allowed 2 runs in that first inning, and that was it. The strategy has to be you need Tyone to deliver a great game. You need to get a lead, much like they did in the 3rd wild card game. And I think that's the key. And if, in my mind, if they can get a win at Wrigley Field, you kind of take it at this point. I think at least you avoid the sweep. You get a chance to win in front of your home fans. You take your chances in Game 4. That's kind of where my mindset is because the first 2 games were so decisive. And the Cubs' flaws have come out so much. You're not feeling a lot of the faith right now. They will really have to really turn the narrative fairly quickly to make this happen. Because if they don't, and Milwaukee, let's just say, jumps out to a 2-0, a 3-1 lead, I'm not sure you're catching them right now, especially what we've seen from the bats going even back to the wild card series.
And that lead, Larry, needs to last longer than in half an inning, if that makes any sense. Yes, and people may be saying, hey, they've jumped out the leads. Well, they haven't, because before you can blink, the lead is gone. It's funny because, and maybe I'll leave you with this, and I want to get your thoughts on it. I talked to my boys this morning, big Cub fans, and they're like, why are you not that like bummed out? And it's weird because this is kind of what I expected. When they didn't go for it at the trade deadline, when you saw the injuries, when you heard Kate Horton was out, when you saw the way they played a little bit down the stretch, this was kind of like, hey, they'll make the postseason. We'll see what we can do there. But it's probably not going to be. Is that a safe assessment for some to say, like, this is kind of, you kind of get what you asked for, and this is kind of what the Cubs had going for them when they came to the postseason?
This is about where I kind of thought they would land, even going back to like July. I thought a DS was probably where they would be. I figured they may run into like the Phillies or Dodgers, but the Brewers have really played incredible baseball and have never stopped. So you run into them, and they're playing really well right now. And the Cubs aren't in the same boat. Look at the Phillies. I mean, they've been knocking on the door of a World Series. They're down 2-0. They're facing a monumental task in what they're doing. Again, 2 close losses. That's what these division series can be. You know, you can have great seasons that go awry. The Cubs did in 2007. Well, really 2008, because 2007, the Diamondbacks were pretty good. For those, I know you have some White Sox fans who watch. I always think of the 2000 series against Seattle, where the Sox were the best team in the American League and lose 2 close games at home. Boom, your season's, boom, you're done. But I think you're right. For me, looking at this team, looking at the club, where they were after the deadline, they wobbled a little bit toward the finish. I was thinking, you know what, if they could win a wild card series, have a competitive division series, that's probably about right. And I think it still feels about right for the team. And I think that, they won a nice, thrilling wild card series, memorable at Wrigley Field. And now they're struggling against a Brewers team that was ready, that came out ready to play good baseball and has jumped all over them and has looked the part. For what you say, or the Cubs or whatever it is, you got to tip your hat to the Brewers. They've looked dominant in the first 2 games, and they've given you no reason to believe that the Cubs will come back and win this series. But yeah, you're right. This is about where I thought they'd land, and this is about where my expectations were sitting, let's just say about August 1st.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I don't think people give enough credit to the Brewers, and I don't think they did it in August when they pulled away. Like, sometimes you just got to tip your cap to the team and say, that's a really good baseball team, and they're playing really good baseball right now. If you're feeling bad, Cub fans, go to Larry's social media and go back to last week. You were outside Wrigley for the final out, and I loved the video that you put up there. Your content's fantastic. Talk to people more about how they can get some of the things that you're doing right now when it comes to sports in Chicago and all that kind of stuff as well.
So my YouTube page is up. It's called Sports of a Certain Age. If you type it in, you'll see me. I also have on TikTok. I'm at Hawley Sports, Twitter at Hawley Sports. And then I am also on Instagram at LHawley80. I couldn't get the clean name for that one, but give me a follow. I'll love to hear from you, and we'll keep making content as long as we can for the Cubs. Hoping it's at least a couple more days, but hoping they get the 1 game at Wrigley. To be honest, that's what I'm hoping.
Larry, I always appreciate you. Always enjoy the time. Great insight, and we'll catch up again. Hopefully, we can talk more baseball. And we're not talking baseball about next year. Hopefully we get a chance to do this again, maybe later this week or next week. And if not, we got Bears to talk about and everything else. So,
Larry, and the Illini. So we'll see what the Illini can. We'll see what they can do this week. Hey, they did what they had to do after Indiana blowout. They're 5-1. Roll the ball out. Take your chances with a team nobody's had an answer for now for about a year. Well, except for Michigan. Michigan had an answer, but we'll see what they do.
And you know what? You're right. It was bad against Indiana, and Brett Bielema did what Brett Bielema does, and they bounced back really, really well. It'll be a fun week. Larry, I appreciate it. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate it.
All right. That is Larry Hawley joining us right now on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Wanted better news to talk about, really did. And both of us probably stayed up a little too late, and obviously we're disappointed. But Game 3 coming your way on Wednesday. See if the Cubs can win that one game at a time. All the cliches will come out, backs against the wall, all those must-win games, all those kind of things. We'll see if they can take care of business coming up on Wednesday. We got more to get to. You're watching Off the Air on a Tuesday. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday, October 7th. Man, the Hungry Hobo commercial and then the Godfather's commercial. It's almost lunchtime. That's a beautiful thing. It's been a fun show so far today. If you're just joining us, we had Jake Brend in the first segment talking a little Cubs, but mainly Cyclones. Tom Kakert is going to be on his way to Chicago for Big Ten Media Days for basketball. Wednesday and Thursday. He joined us to chat about that and, of course, some football as well. We had Greg Cotton, the head coach for the Assumption girls volleyball team, having a fantastic season as usual. And then my good friend Larry Hawley kind of talked about, dissected, complained about the Cubs with me. I needed it. Disappointing night last night, especially the way things started. 3-run homer, first inning. Second game in a row, they go deep, but 3-run homer. You're thinking, okay, that's a nice start. And then to give it all back before the end of the first inning was just, frustrating once again. They'll be back at it on Wednesday. See if the Cubs can at least win one of these games. Best of 5 series. They trail 2-0. Few reminders before we let you go. Next Tuesday, a week from today, we will have the show a little earlier. It'll be a 9 o'clock start, most likely, from Iowa Women's Basketball Media Day at Carver Hawkeye Arena. Should be a ton of fun. Following day, next Wednesday, the men's basketball team has their media day as well. We're going to be live, do the show live from that as well. So back-to-back shows on the road at Carver Hawkeye Arena should be a bunch of fun. Make sure you guys take note of that. Get ready for it. It should be awesome and a blast. Can't wait to do it. We'll be on the road this week on Friday as well for Off the Air. Most likely heading to Riverdale for their game with Newman. And Greg Armstrong from View from the West is not working on Friday, so he's going to get to join me. I don't get to join me. I get to let it. He's going to be with us, if that's the best way to put it. So, and then also the Hawkeye Tailgate Show. I want to remind you guys about that on the Hawkeye Radio Network. We will kick things off, a big game on Saturday night at Madison, at Wisconsin. We will go on the air at 4 o'clock from Big Grove Brewery, and we'll have Jan Jensen with us live from Big Grove Brewery. So if you're roaming around Iowa City on Saturday afternoon, stop by, say hi, see the coach, all those kind of things as well. And then tomorrow we will lead the show off with Iowa assistant coach Lysandra Barrett. So a lot to get to this week. Ness Guest tomorrow, Ty Taylor tomorrow. Just a lot of stuff to get to. It's a fun time of year. These are those times where putting together a 2-hour show every day isn't the hardest thing in the world to do with so many great things going on. June, July, it can get a little interesting. But we're rocking and rolling these days as well. Thank you guys. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe, all of those kind of things. Everybody watching on X right now, which X has been fantastic again this morning. Thank you for that. Our viewers in Central Iowa, thank you guys for watching as well. We'll be back with a brand new episode of Off the Air coming up tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday. Enjoy the fall type weather, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow morning.